She was born into a world full of sounds but no light. Her eyes could not see the colors of the sky or the faces of the people around her. But from the first days of her life, she had an unusual connection with sound. Every small noise seemed to speak to her in a way that words could not. She could tell the difference between the rustle of leaves in the wind and the soft hum of a distant train. She could hear the quiet breathing of her mother in the night and the soft footsteps of her father moving through the house. For her, the world was a symphony, and she could feel the rhythms and melodies in ways others could not. Her parents were loving and supportive, though they worried about the challenges she would face. They understood that the world could be harsh for someone who was blind, especially a girl with big dreams. From a very young age, she showed an interest in music. It began with small instruments, a little toy xylophone, a tambourine, and eventually a small piano that her parents brought into their home. The piano became her closest companion, a friend that never judged her, a friend who would listen to her every thought and emotion. Her hands were small but strong, and when she pressed the keys for the first time, she felt something extraordinary. The vibrations of the piano seemed to speak directly to her heart. Her fingers moved cautiously at first, striking one key at a time, creating simple, uneven notes. But over time, she began to understand the language of music, the way it could carry emotion and tell stories without a single word. Her parents noticed her natural ability and were both amazed and proud. She spent hours at the piano every day, her world expanding with every note she learned. While other children played outside, she explored the endless landscapes of sound, discovering the emotions hidden in melodies. Music became her voice, her way to express feelings she could not see. Each day, she would sit in front of the piano, her hands hovering above the keys, and let her heart guide her fingers. Sometimes she would play soft, gentle tunes that made her parents smile. Other times, she would pound on the keys with such passion that it seemed as though she was pouring her entire soul into the music. Despite her talent, life was not easy. People around her often doubted her abilities. Some said she could never achieve anything because she could not see. Teachers and neighbors would sometimes give her pitying looks or make thoughtless remarks about her blindness. They could not understand that her limitations were only physical, not a barrier to her heart or mind. She heard these words, but she did not let them stop her. Music became her refuge, a place where she could be free from the harsh judgments of the world. Her mentor, an older woman who had once been a professional musician, noticed the girl's potential. She began to teach her, guiding her hands and helping her understand the complexities of rhythm, harmony, and emotion. The mentor would describe the piano not just as an instrument, but as a bridge between the soul and the world. "Close your eyes and listen, truly listen," she would say. "Feel the music in your body, not just with your ears. Let it tell you what it wants to say through you." Under this guidance, the girl's talent flourished. She could memorize entire pieces just by listening once, and her ability to feel the music made her performances unique and moving. She could take a simple tune and turn it into a story, full of emotion and depth. People who heard her play for the first time were often shocked by the richness and sensitivity in her music. They could not believe that someone so young and blind could create something so powerful. However, not everyone was kind. Some people were jealous or dismissive. They said she was lucky, that anyone could play if they had enough time. They underestimated the effort and dedication it took for her to learn, to feel, to perfect every note. She faced these challenges quietly, letting her music speak louder than words. Her parents always encouraged her, reminding her that the opinions of others could not define her worth or her dreams. In school, she faced both challenges and small victories. Some teachers were patient and helped her navigate lessons, while others did not understand her needs. But she never allowed these difficulties to discourage her. She worked harder than anyone else, practicing relentlessly, determined to make her dream a reality. Her classmates began to notice her talent as well, and some were inspired by her determination and courage. Her love for music was not just about skill, it was about connection. She felt that through music, she could reach people in a way that words could not. She could make them feel joy, sorrow, excitement, or peace. She wanted to tell stories, not with books or paintings, but with sound. And every day, the piano gave her that voice, a voice that was uniquely hers. Despite the growing recognition of her talent, she remained humble and grounded. She knew that her journey would be full of obstacles, and she was ready to face them. Her dream was not fame or praise. It was the pure joy of creating music, of touching hearts with her melodies. She knew that one day, she would have the chance to show the world what she could do, to prove that her blindness was not a weakness, but a different way of experiencing and expressing the beauty of life. Her family continued to support her every step of the way. They celebrated her small achievements and comforted her during moments of doubt. They understood that her passion for music was more than just a hobby. It was her lifeline, her purpose. They saw the light in her heart, a light that could not be dimmed by the darkness around her. As she grew older, her skills became more refined, and her confidence grew. She began performing in small gatherings, local events, and community centers. Each performance was a learning experience, teaching her how to connect with the audience, how to convey emotions through every note, how to let the music flow naturally. People who heard her play were often moved to tears. Even though she could not see their reactions, she felt their emotions through the vibrations of the room, through the warmth and energy of their presence. Though the world still held skeptics, she did not let their doubts control her. She knew that music was her truth, her expression of life and feeling. Every day at the piano was a step closer to her dream, a chance to perfect her craft, and a moment to embrace the beauty of her unique perspective. Her life, filled with challenges and triumphs, was already a story of courage and resilience, a story that would continue to unfold in ways that would inspire everyone who heard it. She had learned that the road ahead would not be easy, but she welcomed the journey. With each note she played, she wrote a new chapter of her life, one filled with hope, determination, and the endless possibilities that music could bring. And though her eyes could not see the world, her heart could feel it more deeply than anyone else. And that was a gift that no one could take away. As the girl's talent grew, so did the attention she received. People in her town began to talk about the blind girl who could play the piano like no one else. Some were curious, some were amazed, and some were skeptical. They could not imagine that someone who could not see could create such beautiful music. Invitations to perform began to arrive, small at first, community events, local gatherings, and school functions, but each time she performed, she left a mark on everyone who listened. Her music was not just sound, it was an experience, a journey through feelings that touched hearts deeply. One day, her mentor told her about an opportunity that could change her life. A world-renowned pianist was coming to her city to give a special performance and masterclass. This pianist was famous for his brilliance, but also feared for his harsh and sometimes cruel criticism. Many young musicians had been discouraged by his words, and only the bravest dared to perform in front of him. Her mentor looked at her with a mixture of pride and caution. "This could be your chance," she said, "but it will not be easy. He can be cruel. He does not care about excuses or struggles. He cares about skill, precision, and the truth in music." The girl felt a mixture of excitement and fear. She wanted to take the opportunity, but doubts crept into her mind. Could she face someone who had the power to crush her dreams with a single word? Could she play in front of someone who had never known her world? Someone who might never understand her journey? She spent many nights thinking about it, her fingers dancing over the keys as she imagined the performance. Each note she played built her courage, and she reminded herself of everything she had overcome. Her blindness, the doubts of others, the countless hours of practice, all of it had prepared her for this moment. When the day arrived, the girl felt her heart pounding like never before. The hall was large, filled with people who had come to hear the famous pianist, not her. She could hear whispers of doubt, murmurs of curiosity, and the occasional laugh. Some people openly questioned why she was even allowed to perform. The blind girl took a deep breath, remembering her mentor's advice. Music is not about being seen. Music is about being felt. She walked slowly to the piano, her hands brushing the keys as if greeting an old friend. The famous pianist watched her with a raised eyebrow. He looked her over and let out a small, derisive laugh. "You, a blind girl? What can you possibly do here?" His voice echoed through the hall. The words stung, but she did not reply. She had heard such skepticism before, but this time, it was amplified by the presence of someone she deeply respected and feared. The audience waited, some unsure whether she could actually play, others curious about the confrontation. The girl sat down at the piano, her hands hovering over the keys. For a moment, she felt the weight of every doubt, every critical comment, every whisper of disbelief. But then she closed her eyes, not in defeat, but in focus. She remembered the countless hours she had spent learning, listening, and practicing. She remembered the way her mentor had told her to feel the music in her heart. She remembered the joy she felt every time she played. And slowly, she let her fingers find their place, pressing down the keys with gentle certainty. At first, the music was simple, soft, almost hesitant. The audience leaned forward, listening, some skeptical, some intrigued. The famous pianist frowned, clearly expecting mistakes, expecting mediocrity. But then something changed. The girl's music began to grow, flowing effortlessly from her heart through her fingers and into the room. The notes told a story of courage, struggle, and hope. Every melody seemed to speak to the audience, pulling them in, making them feel every emotion she had poured into her practice. The hall grew silent, and all eyes, whether open or not, seemed to focus on the invisible thread connecting her hands and her heart. The famous pianist's expression changed slowly, from amusement to disbelief, and then to deep contemplation. He could feel the depth of her music, the power behind every note, and the courage that allowed a blind girl to stand in front of a crowd and pour her soul into the piano. He realized that what she lacked in sight, she had more than enough in understanding, in feeling, in emotion. She played with a mastery that could not be taught, a natural brilliance that came from the heart, not from mere technique. As the performance continued, the audience was captivated. Some held their breath, afraid to blink and miss a moment of the magic unfolding. Others felt tears running down their cheeks, unable to contain the emotions stirred by the music. The girl's blindness became irrelevant. Her ability to communicate through sound transcended everything else. She was not just playing music. She was telling a story that everyone in the hall could feel, understand, and connect with. The pianist, once skeptical and critical, could no longer hold back his awe. He leaned forward, his hands clasped, watching each movement of her fingers, each subtle shift in tempo, each crescendo and delicate note. He felt a mixture of respect, admiration, and perhaps even a little shame for having doubted her. She had challenged the assumptions of everyone in the room, showing that true talent does not rely on sight, but on dedication, passion, and heart. After what felt like both an eternity and a moment, the music began to slow, coming to a gentle, perfect ending. The hall was silent for a heartbeat, caught in the lingering emotion of the performance. Then, slowly, applause erupted, at first tentative, then growing louder and louder, filling every corner of the hall. People stood, some crying, some cheering, all moved by the beauty of what they had just experienced. The girl remained seated for a moment, letting the sound of appreciation wash over her, feeling it with every sense she had. She had faced the challenge, and she had triumphed, not with arrogance or boastfulness, but with honesty and courage. The famous pianist finally spoke, his voice quieter than before, filled with respect. "I have never seen, or perhaps I should say felt, anything like this," he said. "You have a gift, a connection to music that cannot be taught. Your blindness does not limit you. It frees you to feel in ways others cannot. I am humbled by what you have shared today." The words, so different from the criticism she had feared, touched her deeply. She had not only performed, she had changed the perspective of someone who had the power to influence many others. As the audience continued to cheer, she realized that this moment was more than just a performance. It was a turning point, a demonstration of what was possible when talent, determination, and courage come together. She had faced ridicule and doubt, but she had responded not with anger or fear, but with music, with the pure expression of her heart. She had shown that the barriers the world puts in front of people can be broken, not by confrontation, but by proving oneself through action, through skill, and through authenticity. After the performance, many people came to her, offering words of admiration, praise, and encouragement. She heard stories from strangers who had been moved to tears, who felt inspired to follow their own dreams despite challenges. Her heart swelled with gratitude, not for the recognition, but for the understanding that her music had touched lives, had crossed barriers that words alone could never overcome. The day ended with her mentor embracing her, tears in her own eyes. "You have done something remarkable," she said. "You have shown courage, talent, and heart. Remember this feeling, hold it close, because it will guide you through every challenge ahead." The girl nodded, feeling a mixture of exhaustion and elation. She had faced one of the greatest challenges of her young life, and she had succeeded, not by trying to prove others wrong, but by staying true to herself and to her music. That night, she sat by her piano at home, fingers resting on the keys, feeling the vibrations still lingering in her heart. She knew the journey ahead would not be easy. There would be more challenges, more skeptics, and more moments of doubt. But she also knew that she had the strength to face them. Her music was more than talent. It was her voice, her way of navigating the world, and her proof that obstacles could be transformed into opportunities. She closed her eyes, took a deep breath, and let her fingers move over the keys once more, creating melodies that spoke of hope, courage, and the unbreakable spirit within her. After the encounter with the famous pianist, the girl's world changed in ways she could hardly imagine. People who had doubted her began to see her differently. But not everyone welcomed her success. There were whispers, people who said she had only succeeded because of luck, because the pianist had gone easy on her, or because the audience had exaggerated their reactions. These words sometimes reached her ears, and though they stung, she refused to let them take root. She knew the truth of her journey, the countless hours spent at the piano, the struggles she had overcome, and the passion that drove her to create music. That truth was hers and hers alone. Her mentor continued to guide her, pushing her to explore new levels of complexity and emotion in her music. They introduced her to challenging pieces that required not only technical skill, but also a deep understanding of the emotions behind the notes. The girl embraced these challenges with determination, letting her fingers dance across the keys, feeling every vibration, every nuance. She learned to interpret music not as a set of instructions, but as a living, breathing story that could touch hearts and minds in ways words never could. As she practiced, she discovered new ways to express herself. She would close her eyes and imagine scenes, emotions, and moments in her life, translating them into music. A memory of a rainy day, the laughter of friends, the warmth of her family, or the quiet sadness of a lonely evening. All of these found their way into melodies that were uniquely hers. Each piece became a reflection of her inner world, a testament to the depth of her feeling and her ability to transform life into art. Her performances grew more frequent and more demanding. Invitations arrived from outside her town, from cities she had only heard about in stories, places where audiences had never seen someone like her perform. She felt excitement and fear in equal measure. Traveling was not easy, and she often relied on her family and mentor to guide her through unfamiliar streets and halls. But every journey was worth it for the chance to share her music with new listeners, to connect with people who might never have encountered a blind pianist before. At one such performance, she was asked to play in a prestigious music hall, a place known for hosting some of the most talented musicians in the world. The audience was composed of people who had dedicated their lives to music, critics, teachers, and performers. Some were openly skeptical, their eyes scanning her as she approached the stage, assessing whether she could live up to the reputation she had begun to build. The girl felt a familiar nervousness, but it was tempered by the quiet confidence that came from years of practice and dedication. She sat at the piano, her hands hovering over the keys, feeling the texture of the wood and the smoothness of the ivory. The room was silent, every ear waiting, every mind curious. The music began softly, almost shyly. As her fingers found the first notes, she played a simple theme, letting it grow gradually, letting the emotions unfold naturally. As the piece progressed, the audience could feel the depth of her understanding, the way she transformed the piano into a storyteller. She was not merely playing, she was speaking through music, expressing thoughts and feelings that could not be captured by words alone. Every chord, every pause, every delicate touch carried meaning, inviting listeners to experience her world alongside her. Among the audience was a young pianist who had once been critical of her in her own town, someone who had doubted her abilities and spoken dismissively about her performances. He watched in silence as she played, unable to deny the brilliance and emotion in her music. Slowly, the skepticism in his eyes melted into admiration. He realized that talent and heart could not be judged by appearances or preconceptions. He felt a mixture of humility and inspiration, recognizing that the girl had achieved something beyond mere technical skill. She had created a genuine emotional connection. As the piece reached its climax, the girl allowed herself to be completely absorbed in the music. She closed her eyes fully, letting the sound flow through her body, letting every note be guided by the feelings she carried within. The audience could sense this, responding not just to the technical proficiency, but to the honesty and passion that radiated from her performance. Some wept quietly, moved by the beauty and intensity of what they were hearing. Others sat in stunned silence, unable to find words to describe the experience. And the young pianist, who had doubted her, felt a newfound respect that would stay with him for the rest of his life. When the final notes faded into the air, the hall remained still for a heartbeat. Then, as if released from a spell, the audience erupted in applause. The sound was overwhelming, a wave of appreciation and recognition that washed over her. She remained seated for a moment, letting the energy of the room reach her, feeling it in every fiber of her being. She had done it again, not for fame, not for praise, but because music was her language, her way of communicating with the world. After the performance, many people came to her, offering congratulations and praise. Critics, teachers, and fellow musicians expressed their admiration, some with tears in their eyes, others with smiles of genuine respect. The young pianist approached her, his expression humble. "I was wrong to doubt you," he said quietly. "You have a gift that goes beyond skill. You make people feel something that I never thought possible. Thank you for sharing your music." The girl smiled, feeling warmth and gratitude, but also a quiet pride. She had faced doubt, ridicule, and fear, and she had responded with courage and integrity. She realized that true success was not about proving others wrong, but about staying true to oneself and giving everything to the art she loved. Her journey was far from over, but each challenge she faced strengthened her, shaped her, and prepared her for the opportunities yet to come. In the days that followed, she continued to practice, to explore new pieces, to push herself beyond what she had thought possible. Her mentor guided her patiently, helping her refine her technique, deepen her understanding of music, and expand the emotional range of her performances. They discussed interpretations, phrasing, and the subtle ways in which music could convey meaning. The girl absorbed every lesson eagerly, knowing that her growth as a musician was never complete, that there was always more to learn, more to express, and more to share with the world. Her story began to spread beyond her performances. People talked about the blind girl who could captivate audiences with her music, the young woman who had faced ridicule and doubt, but emerged triumphant through talent, determination, and heart. She became an inspiration, not only to aspiring musicians, but to anyone who faced obstacles or challenges in their own lives. Her life was a reminder that limitations are often only what the mind believes them to be, and that courage and perseverance can transform obstacles into opportunities. Through it all, she remained humble and grounded. She never forgot the early days, the long hours of practice, the encouragement of her family, and the guidance of her mentor. She knew that her gift was not something to boast about, but something to share, to use to bring beauty, emotion, and connection to the world. Each performance was an opportunity to touch hearts, to inspire, and to show that even in darkness, there can be light, warmth, and music. As she continued to grow as a musician, she also grew as a person. She learned patience, empathy, and resilience. She understood the importance of hard work, of dedication, and of believing in oneself. And most importantly, she learned that music, when played with honesty and passion, could break down barriers, connect people across differences, and communicate the deepest emotions in a way that words never could. The girl knew that more challenges awaited her, that life would continue to test her courage and determination, but she also knew that she was ready, that she had the strength, talent, and heart to face whatever came next. Her journey was not just about music. It was about proving to herself and the world that limitations could be overcome, that passion and dedication could create beauty and inspire others. And with every note she played, she continued to tell her story, a story of courage, resilience, and the transformative power of music. The girl's journey continued to unfold, each day presenting new challenges, new opportunities, and new lessons. By now, she had grown more confident in her abilities, yet she remained deeply aware of the responsibility that came with her talent. She understood that her music could touch people in ways words could not, that it could inspire, heal, and connect hearts. She carried this understanding with her as she prepared for each performance, knowing that every note mattered, every pause had meaning, and every melody had the power to evoke deep emotions. One day, she received an invitation to perform at a prestigious international music festival. The festival was known for featuring some of the greatest musicians from around the world. The thought of performing in front of such a large and discerning audience filled her with both excitement and anxiety. She had never played on such a stage, nor had she faced an audience so diverse and sophisticated. Yet, she knew this was a chance to share her music with people who had never experienced anything like it, a chance to make them feel what she felt when she played. As the day of the performance approached, she practiced relentlessly. Her mentor guided her, helping her refine the nuances of each piece, perfect the transitions, and bring out the emotions that lay hidden within the music. She learned to listen not only with her ears but with her heart, to sense the energy of the music and the space around her. She practiced until her fingers knew the keys as if they were extensions of her own mind, until every movement was natural, fluid, and expressive. When the day finally arrived, the girl entered the grand hall of the festival. The stage was enormous, the lights bright, and the audience vast. She could hear the murmurs of people settling into their seats, the rustle of programs, the quiet anticipation that filled the space. She took a deep breath, feeling the weight of the moment, but also the excitement that came with the opportunity to perform. As she approached the piano, she felt the smooth keys beneath her fingers and let herself relax, focusing on the music rather than the size of the hall or the expectations of the crowd. The audience was composed of people from different cultures, ages, and backgrounds. Some were professional musicians, others were critics, and many were simply lovers of music. There were skeptics, those who had heard of the blind girl and doubted her abilities, and there were believers, those who had followed her journey and admired her courage and talent. The tension in the air was palpable, yet she welcomed it. Letting it fuel her performance rather than intimidate her, she began to play softly, each note deliberate and expressive. The melody was gentle at first, building slowly as her fingers danced across the keys. The audience listened, captivated by the emotion in every chord. The way she brought the music to life. It was not just a technical display of skill, it was storytelling through sound, a narrative that transcended language and culture. People leaned forward, listening intently, some closing their eyes to fully immerse themselves in the music. As the performance continued, the girl allowed herself to be carried by the music. She played pieces she had composed herself, melodies that reflected her experiences, her struggles, and her joys. The music was both intimate and powerful, drawing the audience into her world. She could feel their reactions, the subtle shifts in energy, the shared emotion that connected her to every person in the hall. She was not just performing, she was communicating, sharing her heart in the purest form she knew. During one particularly complex piece, her fingers moved with incredible speed and precision, creating layers of harmony that seemed almost impossible. The audience was mesmerized, some holding their breath, others moved to tears. The music conveyed a story of struggle and resilience, of facing doubt and emerging stronger. Every note was imbued with her personal journey, with the challenges she had overcome and the strength she had discovered within herself. It was a performance that left no heart untouched. The famous pianist who had once doubted her was in the audience. Having traveled specifically to hear her play, he watched in silence, deeply moved by the depth of her performance. He had seen many talented musicians, but he had never encountered anyone who could communicate so powerfully through music alone. He realized that her blindness had never been a limitation. It had been a source of unique insight and sensitivity, allowing her to experience and express music in a way that others could not. He felt a profound respect and admiration, understanding that true artistry comes from the heart, not from sight or technique alone. As the final notes of the piece faded into the air, the hall was silent for a moment, suspended in the lingering emotion of what they had just witnessed. Then, slowly, applause began, building into a thunderous ovation. People rose to their feet, some crying openly, others cheering and clapping with unrestrained joy. The girl remained seated, feeling the energy and gratitude of the audience wash over her. She had not only performed, she had touched lives, moved people, and inspired them in a way that transcended words. After the performance, the girl received countless congratulations from audience members, fellow musicians, and critics alike. Many spoke of the raw emotion in her music, the way she had conveyed a story without uttering a single word. Some were in awe of her technical skill, but all were deeply moved by the sincerity and heart in her performance. The famous pianist approached her, his expression filled with genuine admiration. "I have never experienced anything like this," he said softly. "You have the power to move people in ways that most musicians can only dream of. Your music is a gift to the world." The girl smiled, humbled and grateful, but also quietly proud. She had faced doubt, skepticism, and fear, and she had responded with courage and authenticity. She had shown that talent and passion could overcome obstacles, that music could transcend limitations, and that the human spirit could shine even in the face of adversity. Her journey was far from over, but she knew that each performance, each challenge, and each connection with her audience strengthened her and prepared her for what lay ahead. In the days following the festival, her story spread across countries, inspiring people who had never met her. She received letters and messages from aspiring musicians, from people facing challenges in their own lives, all touched by her resilience and dedication. She realized that her music was more than a personal expression. It was a source of hope and inspiration for others. She had become a symbol of courage, a living example of how passion, perseverance, and heart could overcome even the greatest obstacles. Despite the growing attention and recognition, she remained humble and focused. She continued to practice diligently, exploring new pieces, experimenting with different styles, and pushing the boundaries of her abilities. She knew that true mastery was a lifelong journey, and she welcomed every opportunity to learn, grow, and share her music. Each day at the piano was a chance to deepen her connection with the art she loved, to refine her expression, and to continue touching hearts in ways that only she could. She also began to mentor younger musicians, sharing her knowledge, experience, and encouragement. She understood the importance of guidance. Having benefited greatly from the mentorship she had received, she wanted to help others discover their own voices, to inspire them to pursue their dreams, and to show them that challenges could be overcome with dedication and courage. Through teaching, she found a new layer of fulfillment, seeing her passion ripple outward to others who were beginning their own journeys. The girl's journey was a testament to the transformative power of music, resilience, and heart. She had faced ridicule, doubt, and fear, yet she had emerged stronger, wiser, and more capable than ever. Each performance was a reminder of what she had overcome, and each audience was a chance to share her story without words. Through the universal language of music, her life and her music had become intertwined, each feeding the other, creating a story of courage, inspiration, and the beauty that emerges when one follows their passion with unwavering dedication. The girl had come a long way from the small room where she first discovered the piano. Every challenge she had faced, every doubt she had overcome, and every note she had played had led her to this point. Her journey had not been easy, filled with obstacles, skepticism, and moments of fear, but it had also been filled with courage, dedication, and extraordinary triumphs. She now stood as a symbol of hope and inspiration, showing that talent, perseverance, and heart could overcome even the greatest challenges. As she continued to perform in front of larger audiences, her reputation grew. People from different countries wanted to hear her play, to experience the unique way she conveyed emotion through her music. Invitations arrived from concert halls she had only dreamed of, and she traveled with her family and mentor, each performance an opportunity to touch new hearts. She never sought fame or recognition. For her, music was always about connection, expression, and sharing the beauty she felt within her soul. One day, she was invited to perform at a major international concert, a place where some of the greatest musicians in the world had played. The audience included not only music lovers, but also critics and educators, all with a deep understanding of technique and artistry. She felt the familiar mix of excitement and anxiety, but she reminded herself that her strength came from within, from the countless hours she had spent learning, practicing, and feeling the music. She knew that her performance was not just about technical perfection, but about conveying honesty, emotion, and the story within every piece. The hall was grand, filled with people waiting for the concert to begin. She approached the piano, feeling the smooth keys under her fingers, and let herself settle into the moment. Every sound in the room, the soft hum of the audience, the rustling of programs, the quiet breaths was part of the environment she had learned to sense and use in her music. She closed her eyes, not in fear but in focus, letting her mind and heart guide her fingers. The first notes were soft, gentle, almost tentative, but they carried the weight of her experience and emotion. As she played, the music began to unfold with a richness and depth that captivated everyone present. She played pieces she had composed herself, melodies that told stories of struggle, resilience, hope, and joy. Each note was deliberate, each pause meaningful. The audience could feel her journey through the music, sensing the challenges she had overcome and the strength she had discovered within herself. Some listeners were moved to tears, others simply sat in silent awe, overwhelmed by the beauty and emotion of her performance. The famous pianist who had once doubted her was in the audience. Having come to witness her growth and mastery, he watched intently, astonished by the depth of feeling and technical skill she now displayed. He realized that her blindness had never been a limitation. It had been a unique gift, allowing her to experience music in ways others could not. He felt humility and admiration, recognizing that the girl before him had transformed doubt into triumph and skepticism into awe. During the performance, she explored complex pieces with intricate rhythms and harmonies, yet each note carried clarity and purpose. Her fingers danced over the keys, creating layers of sound that seemed to tell stories without words. She conveyed emotions so vividly that the audience felt every joy, sorrow, and triumph as if it were their own. She was not merely performing. She was sharing a piece of her soul, inviting everyone present to understand and feel what she felt. As the final notes lingered in the air, the hall remained silent for a moment, caught in the aftermath of the music. Then, slowly, applause erupted, growing louder and louder until the entire audience stood, cheering and clapping with unrestrained joy. Some cried openly, moved by the depth of her expression, while others smiled with quiet appreciation. She remained seated for a moment, absorbing the energy of the room, feeling the gratitude and admiration that filled the space. She had faced every challenge, every doubt, and every obstacle, and now she had shared her gift with the world in its fullest form. After the performance, she was approached by many, including musicians, critics, and audience members who had been touched by her music. Each person expressed admiration, not only for her technical skill, but for the emotional depth and honesty of her performance. She realized that her music had become more than just sound. It was a bridge connecting her heart to others, a way to inspire, comfort, and move people beyond words. The famous pianist spoke to her quietly, his eyes filled with respect. "You have done something remarkable," he said. "You have shown the world that true music comes from the heart, that talent and courage can overcome any obstacle. You inspire everyone who hears you, and I am honored to have witnessed your growth." The girl felt a deep sense of fulfillment and humility. She had faced ridicule, doubt, and fear, but she had responded with courage, dedication, and authenticity. She had shown that limitations exist only if one allows them to, and that passion and heart can transform challenges into opportunities. Her journey was far from over, but she knew that she was ready for whatever came next. Every performance, every note, every connection with an audience was a step forward, a continuation of the story she had been writing with her life and her music. In the days and months that followed, her influence grew. She continued to perform internationally, inspire aspiring musicians, and share her story with audiences around the world. Letters and messages arrived from people touched by her courage and talent, from young musicians facing their own challenges, and from individuals seeking hope and inspiration in their lives. Her music had become a source of comfort, strength, and motivation, reaching beyond borders and language barriers. Despite the recognition, she remained humble and focused on her art. She continued to practice diligently, exploring new compositions, experimenting with different styles, and pushing the boundaries of her abilities. She sought to grow not for fame, but for the joy of expression and the desire to connect with others through her music. Each day at the piano was a reminder of the journey she had taken, the obstacles she had overcome, and the beauty she could create when she followed her passion with sincerity and dedication. She also dedicated time to mentoring younger musicians, sharing her experience, guidance, and encouragement. She knew the value of support, having benefited greatly from her own mentor. By helping others discover their voices, she extended the gift of music and inspiration, showing that courage, practice, and heart could create extraordinary results. She found joy in witnessing their growth, knowing that her journey could empower others to pursue their dreams despite any challenges. The girl's life and music had become inseparable. Every note she played was a reflection of her journey, a testament to resilience, perseverance, and the transformative power of art. She had shown that even in the face of skepticism and doubt, one could rise, excel, and inspire others. She had proven that limitations could be overcome with passion, dedication, and heart, and that music could communicate emotions that words could never fully capture. Through it all, she remained grateful for the support of her family, her mentor, and everyone who had believed in her along the way. She remembered the early days of doubt and struggle, the hours spent practicing, and the small victories that had built her confidence. Each experience had shaped her, strengthened her, and prepared her for the moments of triumph that followed. And with every performance, she continued to inspire, moving audiences to tears, smiles, and reflection, sharing not only her talent, but the story of courage, perseverance, and the enduring power of the human spirit. Her journey had become a legacy, not measured by awards or recognition, but by the lives she touched through her music. She understood that her gift was meant to be shared, to create connections, and to inspire others to believe in their own potential. As she continued to perform, teach, and explore new musical horizons, she carried with her the knowledge that her story was more than her own. It was a testament to what is possible when determination, talent, and heart come together. She had faced ridicule, doubt, and fear, but through her unwavering dedication, she had transformed every challenge into a triumph, leaving a mark on the world that would resonate far beyond the music itself.